So for this fantastic episode of Next Slide Please, we've got my wonderful friend Alice, who is an amazing filmmaker and producer, and I hope you'll enjoy it.
Woo!
Hi. Appropriately for me being a filmmaker, my presentation is called The Deceptively Creative Role of the Sound Designer. So we're very used to like singing the praises of like CGI artists and stunt performers, and acknowledging all the crazy hard work that all these people put into like bringing the fantastical to life. But there's an undersung department in sound. So like the foley department, for example, is a sub-department of the post-production sound department. And they're responsible for creating all the unique sounds that kind of fill the soundscape and the world of all the films and TV that we watch. From the footsteps crunching, snow or squelching against sand, to like sound of keys and locks and stuff like that. They just make the world feel lived in and real, for like lack of a better term.
So are they the only sound comes from these?
No. So the post-production sound department is like a massive thing that I don't have first-hand experience in. But like there's mixers who like mix all of the different sound sources together. Like the composer is part of that team as well. As well as there being like a head sound editor who's like organizing everything. Mm-hmm. Then like dialogue is usually done by a different sub-department. The foley are more, they do the sounds that either don't exist or the ones that need to be like added in to make a scene feel real.
So like mocking up sounds. So my experience, which Alice knows all about because she was there for it too, with foley is for when Soph from the channel Curio did a practical effect of a tentacle bursting out of their stomach for a video, and there was lots of like sploshing around with like lettuces and snapping celery for like crunching bone kind of sounds, and like dropping custard in a bowl, little splishy splashy sounds.
Yeah. And that's the major creative part of like Foley artists. They have to just grab whatever they can and experiment so much with like pulling apart vegetables or like finding musical instruments and just doing weird things to them, just to find sounds that people haven't heard before that they can then try and manipulate and use in their like particular things.
Yeah, I suppose it's really difficult to like, if it sounds too familiar, then people will just be like, oh, that's just this, and it'll be jarring, but it has to be something.
You'd think, but there is a lot of sounds that are very obvious if you just listen to them by themselves, but then as soon as you have the visuals of a film telling you something else, it's a lot.
That is
I don't know, the brain just goes, oh, it's that. That's what that sound is.
Anything else they can legally do just to find the perfect combination of sounds. That's so good.
There's a story of them trying to recreate Godzilla's like roar and using the Rolling Stones like amps, and they shattered like windows like 5 miles away.
Wow.
So yeah, because they were like
that's impressive.
They got a special microphone and recorded like infrasound, and then like stepped that down into an audible range and played that through like the Rolling Stones like 1,000 of decibels amps, and then it was just heard from like miles away, and like apparently the police got texts and calls saying they're like, hey, I can hear Godzilla in like downtown LA.
That's incredible and terrifying. I'm gonna link to Jen's Godzilla video.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, so rather than me just continuously explaining how different films have like done their particular sound effects, I thought it would be fun to make a little bit of a quiz out of this. So welcome to Hollywood Sound Designers. What did they make? How did they make it? Let's find out.
Ooh, I love a good quiz. I love a good presentation with a quiz.
So round one, the TARDIS. This is a staple of British culture at this point, and I just kind of had to do it. The original like TARDIS teleportation sound was created by Brian Hodgkinson, I think is how you pronounce his name, all the way back in 1963. They have remixed it a few times like throughout the years, but the main sound is still basically the same. And in an interview with the Radio Times, Brian reminisced saying that the producer of the original Doctor Who said something along the lines of they wanted the sound to have this kind of rendering of the fabric of time and space. So he wanted to create it to be this kind of tearing sound. Which
That's how it sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Doctor Who without that sound, really, would it?
No, not at all. So I'll get you the clip now.
Yeah. I can see what they mean by rending and tearing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what did he use to create this iconic sound that has haunted the screens and living rooms of Britain for the past 57 years?
Okay. We're writing it down. I think I've got one.
You go first. You two.
Right. Well, I think it was a saw with a violin bow.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? That you mean like somebody sawing a
Yeah,
violin bow against?
No, so you use the back end of the saw, like when they use a saw as an
Yeah.
instrument. Yeah.
Okay.
What do they
Cool.
call that? Like, yeah. I've seen those.
Yeah.
Nat?
I also put saw.
Okay.
I was thinking like actually sawing something though. But I think it's not. That would be too like too noisy. I also put spinning thing on a string. There's that thing.
Yeah.
There's that thing where it's kind of like a ball with like holes in it, and you put it on a string, or kind of like a disc kind of round shape with holes in it. You put it on a string and you spin it around like this, and the air going through it makes this like funny whirling sound.
Okay, it's not that either.
What does Rach think?
I wrote the word car with the thought that cars can make lots of different noises depending on how you hit them. Really, it's just a multi-sound object. But
So you're hedging your bets.
on
there.
the,
That's
on
what
the
you're doing.
tearing
You're hedging
theme,
your bets.
I might say paper. I really didn't have a clue.
Okay,
No
so
idea.
what Brian actually did was he scraped his front door key down the bass string of a broken down piano frame that was currently in the recording studio, and then added a load of feedback to that.
Oh my God.
And then also
If
the
it
sort of like high pitched warbling sound effects are more recent. I believe. I don't believe they're in the original William Hartnell show.
if it had been his car,
There's also
keys,
this story.
I might.
He said he used his house key. Sorry.
Oh.
But there's also loads of weird stories from the Radiophonics workshop, who are the ones who did all the sounds for Doctor Who. There's this one that says they used a flushing toilet to create a Yeti's roar.
That's beautiful.
But the sources are sparse on that, and we're not fully sure if it's actually real.
I fully believe it. No one can convince me otherwise.
Well, a real roar from a very famous movie is our next one in Jurassic Park.
I know this one.
Ooh, so Jen might know this. So even ignoring what is probably the most iconic sound in all of Hollywood cinema history, the movie's sound team hit it so far out of the park that Jurassic Park actually changed how cinemas played movies in America, and then obviously that filtered down through the rest of the world. Before Jurassic Park, they didn't use sort of digital surround sound speakers, and because of Jurassic Park, they started doing that.
They're
Which-
people really need to feel these dinosaurs creeping up on them.
No, yeah, they worked so hard on the sound design. It's that. This movie wouldn't be the same without sound design. For example, the scene with the T-Rex, you've probably all heard of the sort of Hitchcock's thoughts of if you show people a bomb under the table, and then like with a ticking clock, you build a lot of tension and get a lot of tension out of the scene. But if an explosion just happens, you get like a moment of surprise. Like Spielberg used sounds to do that in the like scene. Like you know that the T-Rex is there like 3 minutes before you even see it. But first off, just to let you know a trick about how they make animal sounds for like animals that don't actually exist. They'll often like go to zoos and record sound effect like sounds of animals and then like try and blend them and composite them together. So what I'm looking for from all of you is what sounds did they use to like make the T-Rex's roar, and then what sounds did they make to like make the Velociraptors sounds.
So like,
and then
what
there's
animals
also
did they use?
Yeah, what animals did they use?
Cool.
And there's also like a bonus point for anyone who can figure out exactly what two animals were used for the Velociraptor's distress call.
Okay.
So playing the sound now.
Oh.
Okay.
And now here's the Velociraptor.
Wow.
I'm putting down my guesses.
So, what animals did people hear in the T-Rex's roar?
I put elephant and crocodile. But I don't know if that's just because I'm thinking of what a T-Rex looks like.
Okay, what other people think?
I think everything was a toe. Everything. The T-Rex, the raptors, everything is a toe.
Okay.
In fact,
Right.
I vaguely recall the raptors being turtles having sex.
Okay, their distress call is actually them. Is two tortoises having sex.
Holy shit! I was gonna say crocodile. I was gonna say like baby crocodile because they make like a
Yeah, exactly.
kind of noise.
Exactly. I was hearing
But
just
it's
all different crocodile noises.
It's turtles having sex.
Yeah, I mean, I spent
If
too
you've
much time
ever
on the
seen
internet
that
to know that.
if you've ever seen that video of that tortoise like having sex with a shoe,
No.
It sounds like a raptor.
Cool. Nat, do you want to guess for the T-Rex or the Velociraptors?
I put elephant for T-Rex as well because
Okay.
but I feel like that's obviously not
That's
it.
what
but
they want
that was
you to
the
think.
thing that I thought of. Yeah, that's what Alice wants us to think.
Okay, so the T-Rex's roar is made from 3 main animals, which is a baby elephant. Apparently, none of the adult elephants made any interesting noises, but this baby just like went wild when it saw a microphone. A lion, although some sources say a tiger. I don't think it makes a difference. And an alligator. So, Rach
There was
basically
an
got 2.
alligator somewhere.
And then the Velociraptor, we already know about the tortoises having sex, but there's also an African crane, a horse for its breathing, a debarked dog. I don't know what debarked means.
Oh.
A goose, a
I was
walrus,
gonna say goose.
a walrus, a dolphin, and then just this random human vocal that apparently the mate of the dude who recorded it just came in and made this noise.
It's some dude. It's just some dude.
But anyway, these two sounds, or like this multitude of sounds, were created by Gary Rydstrom, and he also once said that one fun thing in sound design is to take a sound and slow it down, and then it becomes much, much bigger. And I'd argue that our next sound is the best implementation of that technique that I've ever seen. So you would think that because Godzilla is like quite dinosaur based, that Jurassic Park would have based its like sounds of the dinosaurs off of Godzilla. And they did actually try to go to like a Japanese zoo and like record a bunch of animals and composite their stuff, but it just didn't feel right to Akira, and therefore like he just wanted this sound that sounded like ancient and larger than life, like something almost primordial. So to get that powerful sound of like Godzilla that is arguably the most famous sound effect in all of cinema history, what do you think he used?
So we have experience with Godzilla noises, don't we?
Yes.
I did an entire presentation on Godzilla, and I do not know the answer to this one.
I think it's like metal being torn somehow. Like,
Oh god.
Okay,
Well,
let's hear it.
here's the sound.
kind of sounds like a cow with a lot of distortion. Like a lot of.
Well, I can
Like a
give you
move.
this hint. They did not use any animals because
I was gonna say, yeah.
Akira
They've made it
Ifukube-
sound like an animal.
Yeah, he was too scared for like using actual animals. Just it made it sound too familiar, and he wanted it to be this like ancient, like powerful noise.
Okay. I think I've got an idea of what it is. I think I know what it is.
Like, if anyone gets this, I would be amazed.
I have written down a word because it is such a big sound.
Okay,
I've just written down train.
train.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I
It
meant when
sounds
I
like
said metal
the
in
tube
the
or
first
something.
place.
Yeah.
It does sound a bit like the Tube, don't it?
Yeah.
Not that any of us know what the bloody Tube sounds like. It's 2021.
Oh my god, yeah, we've all forgotten, haven't we? But like the central line, like you're in this like screaming box hurtling underground. Like
I wrote destruction. I don't have much more than that.
For destruction.
I think that's pretty accurate to what it is, to be honest.
I think what they did was they went and found a Godzilla.
and just asked it politely to just. Could you just speak into this microphone, please?
Yeah, as it was done destroying downtown Tokyo. Stick a microphone there.
I think Alice did such an incredible Godzilla rendition that it could only have been her.
I'm not doing it again for this video, but you could feel free to put the clip up. So Akira has been quoted as saying, "For the roar of Godzilla, I took the lowest string of a contrabass and then ran a glove that was coated in resin across the string. The different roars were then created by playing that recording at different speeds." So he got like a leather glove, coated it in resin, and then just went to town on a string.
Wow.
So it's like this really extreme kind of like fork on a plate kind of noise.
Yeah.
Like,
Basically, and then like obviously slowed it down a lot to like make it feel bigger, and added a bunch of distortion. And what is also interesting is in the West, we typically refer to Godzilla with male pronouns, but in his native Japan, they refer to it as an it. But I think only sword guys and gun nuts would use humanizing pronouns for the next sound. Star Wars lightsabers and blasters. What do you think they use to make the lightsaber noises and the blaster noises for the lasers?
I think they use little kids going. Vroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Very familiar sound. Very familiar sound.
Yeah. And now here's the blaster noise.
It's also very familiar, those noises.
Yeah. Okay. Are we ready for guesses yet? I've got some guesses.
Yeah, so what do people think the lightsaber and the laser weapons were created with? Using, you know, I mean, how did Ben do it?
I feel like I had this toy as a kid that had little cows on it, and it's like it went moo when you turned it upside down.
Yeah.
Moo.
Like the little,
You turn it up.
yeah.
Yeah, you turn it upside down, and it like all the air goes around whatever's inside of it that's sliding down, and it makes this sort of sliding like sound. And I think that sped up massively is the blaster noise.
Okay. Interesting. No.
I think they took a page from the book of Godzilla and used a lightsaber.
I was thinking for the lightsaber, I was like, well, it just sounds like, like an electric stick, doesn't it? It sounds like they're just waving an electric stick around. I kind of think they just used a lightsaber.
I mean, well, that's the power of, like, really good, sound design.
A previous one, I was thinking, well, it sounds like a train coming off the tracks, but I've never heard a train coming off the tracks. I've just heard movies where a train comes off the tracks, and I think it doesn't actually sound like that. Yeah.
And they've probably never heard a train coming off the tracks, the people that made the sounds for the movies either.
Yeah. Like, the point is just, like, make it sound what people expect it to sound like rather than what it actually sounds like.
Okay.
Rach, do you want to guess on either of these?
I can't think any further than has been thought before. For the blaster, I was thinking just like a BB gun, but there's no distinctive, like shot against a piece of metal, with some echo on it, but there's no really distinctive point where I could say, well, that's where it. So I don't know.
Okay. Interesting you say that. So for lightsaber, Bemba used, and he said that he knew exactly what he wanted to use from the get-go. I don't quite believe that, but okay. He used an old motor from a projector in the USC cinema department, then composited it with other elements that they have never told us. Because
the special sauce.
Yeah. The secret ingredient. And then the laser weapons from like the Death Star to the Stormtroopers, blasters and everything, were all created by twanging like spirals of wire. And then like adding reverb and like distortion to that. Other movies used a different method to create laser sounds. They get like long sort of thick wires, like the sort of things that you see on suspension bridges, and then just smack those and it just reverberates up it. So like Rachel actually was onto something with reverberating metal.
It does sound like, I guess that's where my like sliding cow toy thing came from as well. It sounds like a sound that's traveling along something. Like I was kind of imagining a sound of like something being fired in like a tunnel as well. It sounds like something recorded in a tunnel. That's that kind of like, the sound like traveling along the spring, I suppose, or traveling along the wire.
Yeah. Star Wars has become one of the most important films in like Hollywood cinema history. But for our last sound, I don't actually have one sound for you. I want to know what you think is the first film to ever have a sound designer.
Oh. Okay.
I cannot answer that question without really betraying my lack of film knowledge.
So I can tell you the first movie to use dialogue. It's not that movie, but that was for Jazz Singer, and basically it was meant to be musical, and they had mics so that they could pick up the singing, but then one of the actors just started talking, and that's how dialogue was invented.
Okay, I think I've got an idea.
I'm just gonna pick a random old movie.
The Wizard of Oz. That's meant to be a witch's hat.
Because of all of the dinosaur ones, I've got Jungle Book.
Okay.
I don't have a guess. I don't have a clue.
Rachel's reflecting this slide. The felt bad leaving this area blank, but I had nothing to put here.
Well, before this movie, sound designers were thought of as purely a technician role, and so they usually got the credit supervising sound editor or sound editor. But in 1979, Francis Ford Coppola changed that when he credited Walter Murch as the sound designer on Apocalypse Now.
That's much later than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My guesses wouldn't have been as stupid as they seemed at the time.
Yeah. The shift in like title for that role finally gave the role the artistic credit that it always deserved. Because like obviously it'd always been known as like a technician role, and like technicians don't get the respect they deserve, especially in like creative industries like film. But a designer does. So the fact that shift had such a dramatic impact on how we make films and how we approach the design of sound just illustrates how important a label can be sometimes. Yeah. So I thought this would be a great little place to leave our exploration into the deceptively creative role of a sound designer in Hollywood.
I want to be a Foley artist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's
I wanna
go
spend more time
blow
with
up some melons.
cabbages.
Let's do something fun.
I mean,
Does that sound like such a fun job?
I've
Yeah.
technically done it for like my short film, like for Terror of Frank and Alice, where I crawled out of a toilet and had to think, what would that sound like? I also had to record every single sound you hear in that entire segment because the sound recordist didn't. He just didn't press record.
Oh no.
So I had to do everything.
I'm going to put the link to that video in the description of this because it's incredible and every single person should see it. And also, yeah, the sound design for when she's climbing out of the toilet, because that's what she does in this film that she's made, which is fucking awesome. The sound is so good. Like, you really like feel like you're right there with her climbing out of a toilet.